I am running low on gamer subs. I have like one bottle left, and my refill doesn't show up till the 28th. We'll have to get some caffeine tomorrow, probably. Or I could go into those monsters, but I don't really want to. The whole point of quitting was not starting again, you know? No relapses. We will not go back! Damn it. I need to throw those away, but it feels bad, man. It's like $24 worth of soda just into the trash. I don't know why she tilts. I don't know. I don't think I'm tilting my head. Let's recalibrate one more time, and maybe that'll fix that. $24 worth of temptation. That's probably more accurate. Guys make out all of it. I want so. Oh yeah, watching the playback, and then seeing and listening to myself sing is very silly. What is this? Like a German thrash metal rave band. We'll probably switch it up throughout the week to be something different going forward. But I've been listening to this band a bunch while I've been deving because it's kind of fun. It would be good workout music too, to be fair. We'll wait till this song ends and then we'll get started. Also, I'm starting to notice limitations on the way my face works. But I literally threw together the wheel in like, I don't know. I added all these facial features in like less than a day. Just to test. I like Soldier's Rage by them a lot. Kylo Ren's a bitch! Yeah. I don't know the words to this one section. This is like the bridge. I don't ever know the words. So in the screamier version, I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, but I really want to sing along. So just kind of make the noises. But, yeah. I'm all smiley today. I'm in a good mood. I woke up at like 6:30, and I gave the cat snacks, and then I ate breakfast, and I was like, fuck this, and I went back to bed. I took a nap from like 8:30 to noon. So I like mixed up my caffeine. I'm like, you know what? I don't want that. I want a nap. And that's what I did instead. So I get a sip on my caffeine for the stream. Thinking about it before I went back to sleep. There is something I want to change on the. I think we should flip the camera, maybe. Nah, this is fine. Pressing F to focus. All right, so in the configuration manager, I'll keep calling it that because that's what my app is called most of the time. Let's see. No, not OBS. God damn it. I don't want you there. I wanted this here. I'll organize my screen at some point. There's just so much going on all the fucking time. Now imagine if the fucking AI was actually running. It'd be a fucking trash fire in here. God, I did not know. The more you know. So in here, I'm just gonna fix this super fast. There's two things I want to do. One is gonna be slow, and we're gonna change the behavior. So this configuration, when he pulls on refresh, he's pulling all of the config, and we don't want to dump all the config in here, and then I want to add more to the config. So when we give this back, he's checking for last update. I'm gonna send him last update, but I'm gonna consume, what I'm gonna end up doing is, I want to save every time this changes with a date. And then once it gets to like 20 entries, we'll start deleting entries, I think. But I want to put settings and then, yeah. And then maybe have a remarks section or have it capture this too. So that might be another thing is in configs. This might be a thing too. So we'll probably add the thing to change this guy. And then when you hit submit here, it'll submit here. And then we'll have a submit button here where you can just submit here. And then it'll do the same thing. So we'll need to, let me add that to my notes, I guess. That would be under state machine, or would that be under just UI? I guess where's configs? Get configs, right? Yeah, so down here, we'll do, get rid of the strike through, and this will be add character description to config. So we'll add that, because then we can play with that a little bit more, and then we'll add a listener. So we'll just do that in the actual, the configuration component. We'll just add a listener. Okay. Mom love, feeling the meat. All right, so we're gonna figure out what he is called. Ugh. He is, description L is his ID. All right, cool. So we'll put this here as a separate, like a split here, just so we remember. Const, we'll call it character description. Or I guess we'll just call it what it is, just like we did the other ones. Document.query selector, hashtag this thing's name. Yep. And then we'll add that here. Call it character description. and then dit dot value. Alright, so that's there. He doesn't change anything, but he needs a submit button that does the same thing. So let's go in here, and then we can probably just copy the button verbatim and just change the ID. So let's see. That is submit. I bet it's just called submit button, right? Yeah, here we go. So right here, he's a form submit. We're technically making a button, so it's not gonna behave quite the same. Sup, Jackal? How you doing? I'm doing stuff. I think I'm doing things. So this is a submit, and that's not gonna work. We're gonna have to make a button, like an actual button. And we'll put that underneath character description, which is this guy right here. Yeah. Then obviously we can add some settings. That shouldn't work, right? This thing isn't gonna auto refresh. Oh, it just works. Okay. It's probably gonna yell at me that can't have the same ID. Yeah, he doesn't have a click on effect. Which I don't think he does either. Oh, we need to fix that. That's bad. Alright. We need an on active and on hover event for this button. We're gonna add this one's ID to be submit character description. Yeah, it has. Flamewheel's been a bad streamer. Very bad streamer. I took some time off. The plague did not do any help for the Flamewheel. We believe in magic. Alright, so we'll have another button. He'll just be const submit button. Let's document dot query selector. And then I spent a year making this little avatar. There's more to it than what you see right now, but she causes the computer to crash sometimes, so we gotta play with it a little bit. But I got my mask to work, so then I can actually participate with her. And then it looks like I'm piloting part of the avatar. Alright, so this is gonna do the same thing. So all we have to do in here, essentially just has to do the same thing this does. Just go boop, boop. And then this is just, instead of submit button, it is this thing. Which is a very long name for a thing, but should be fine. It's whatever. Alright. So on E, we're gonna make this thing, which is handle submit. So now if we refresh the page and we hit submit here, we get the same response back. There's an error coming back because the machine's resetting. Alright. So if I hit submit now, there we go. He's resetting because the config is changing. But that's fine. We're just learning, so it doesn't hurt anything. So what I want to change is the way this thing writes itself. Because right now it just does last update, which is the last change. Muffin button. I also want that to stay set up that way. So if we hit save in here, we'll see here now muffin button is in the character description. Alright, cool. So in here, we don't care if character description is missing. Or no, we do care if character description is missing, don't we? So we do the same thing as we did in the other one, so that is character description. Yeah, so we want this to be like this. And then we'll do the same discrepancy check that we did on the other one. So if I make this just nothing, and then we hit submit, it should throw an error. There we go. We're missing character description. Oh, smiley face. So that worked. So that means in the configuration here, when we get update config, we should get this guy. He should also value equals this dot character description. Character description. All right, cool. So now if we refresh this page, now she's filled out up here like we had it set. And then if we change stuff, and then we hit submit here, we get these changes, should be here. That's server disconnecting. This is the data we sent. There we go. So he got it. So if we hit refresh, there we go. It worked. Cool. Easy update. Easy clap. I am surprised it let me just use a submit here. Let's see what this looks like full screen. I think that's fine being that size. I think it emphasizes, hey, this is a thing that you can do stuff with. That might be okay. We might come back to it. I'm not sure. We'll think about it. Because we can either do it like this or we can do it like this. But I think this feels nice. We'll just leave it like that for now, and then if we want changes. Let's add some effects to these buttons, because right now these buttons don't have effects. And we'd like them to have some effects on them. And more. Alright, so these are called submit something. So if we go down to submit here, right now we just have basic settings, right? So we're going to want a couple things. So we're going to want an effect called hover, which basically we'll just change this to primary tint just so you can see it happen. Save, refresh. So now if we hover over the buttons, they glow. Maybe we want them to glow darker? Maybe we want them to be darker. What is my darker? Do I have a darker green? I guess we could mix it. Like a gradient, maybe? Is it called gradient? No, it's not. CSS gradient background. All right, there we go. Linear gradient. There we go. That is the name of the thing I'm looking for. Straight up. Tonight is tonight. All right, so then we can do. I don't know if this will work, but this will be fun. Welcome to Bic. All right, so we do var background color, and then var primary tint, and then let's make this last color our gray. Var primary gray tint, maybe? Might just be gray. Let's see what that does. I just made it black. I did something wrong. All right. Oh, is it the mixture here? Background, linear gradient, 90 degree, comma, that, comma, that, comma, that. Oh, I missed a step. Semicolon, 90 degrees, the color, comma, the color, and our percentage. I think it's just missing another squiggle? Squiggle? No. No, it has a squiggle. 100% the color. Ah, it didn't work. Hey, man. Ah, it's background image, not background. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, so that's kind of neat, but not quite what I thought. Let's try, what's the other gradient? There's linear, and then there's another one. I think it's called radius. Wanna be my girl all night long. Repeating linear gradient? No. I love it. All right, let's go back one. What was the other one called? Radial? Radial gradient. See if that does what I think it does. We go in here again, hit refresh. No, it didn't work. All right, let's try background to this time and see if it does anything. Okay, no, it still has the same. All right, so that's just not a thing. That's kind of the idea I had, was to like make it hovered, but not the same dark color. Let's get rid of let's do it like this, but we'll do it with the darker gray, the primary gray, like that. Dance, baby, dance, dance. All right, so if we go like that and hit refresh, that's kind of what I would go for. I think the lighter gray was better. All right, so then let's grab this. Oh yeah, we could do it the other way around too. We could have the blue on the outside and the dark gray on the inside. Hyper, hyper, you're pretty and I like ya. Move your body, girl, all night long. Hyper, hyper. But then would we do primary gray or primary, let's try primary gray first. We need to adjust the percentages too. Yeah, so this should be, yeah, more like that. It doesn't look as good on the smaller buttons. It is better. Let's ask Google what radial gradient is. That's the thing I actually want. I know it is. Its syntax is different though. Yeah, it's a different syntax. The fuck? I'm just going to grab this. All right. So it doesn't need the 90 degree at all. It just needs color, comma, color, comma, color. Yeah, that's the behavior we would want. That's the behavior we would want technically. Let's just make this the outside and then have no inside, or no further out. Something like that, essentially. We may want to reduce the... Yeah, we can adjust the opacity for the shadow. Yeah, let's see. Interesting. So let's make the outside transparent 20%, maybe? See what that looks like? Oh, 'cause you're a mind reader. Oh, no, that doesn't do anything. That looks gross. That was not the answer. 'Cause you're a mind reader. Yeah, if we maybe just do the lighter gray around the outside, and then that might just do it. All right, so we do like that. Yeah, we just need to make it less, right? So let's make this at like 75% maybe? Yeah, if you could do transparency on a single color, that would be cool. Okay, so that's more what I was looking for, or let's make it just the edge, like that, essentially. Alright, at that point, we do need the darker gray then. Primary gray. Kind of like that, yeah. That's kind of what we're looking for at that point. That feels about right, right? We'd give it a drop shadow, but we're already in the dark, so adding a drop shadow is not really gonna do anything. Hover over the larger one, like this. Mind reader, mind reader. Yeah, maybe. What if we just leave it its regular dark color then? So if we leave it its regular dark color, we get this. It's a little more subtler, right? We can also adjust the circle too. Yeah, I think that's the feel we want. And then I think when we click on it, I think when we click on it, then it should be the bright color, right? With no gradients. So let's grab... I shouldn't need the rest of this. I should just be able to nuke this, and it should just behave the same. Unless it's triple check, but yeah, it still does the same thing. Yeah. Alright, so let's do the submit button. I think it's active? I want to say it's active is the command for that one. And then we'll just make that the light tints. Don't say control. Alright, so this should be the primary tint. Yeah, so then when we click it, nope, it's not active. It's... What, really? Oh, no, I gotta refresh. I keep forgetting. So when we click... No. What? Hover should be being overridden by click. Okay, I don't like that. That's weird, because that's not normally... I think it's just, disable. No, not disable. Let's just try, button, click, hover is override. Okay, yeah. How do I fix that? Find better. Let's just put active above hover. I think that'll probably do it. Let's see if that fixes it. I don't think... The fuck? I think when Cloudflare hit my shit, it fucking reset my shit. That's the first time that's happened. I haven't seen that before. Yeah, but it was underneath and it wasn't working, my bro. That's the issue. That's the issue. Or maybe that's an issue with the submit element? Maybe that's an issue with the submit element? Yeah, but putting hover above active should automatically make this the default, but I think it has something to do with the fact it's a, that it's not a button. It's not actually a button. It's a submit. So let's change this to a button, and I bet it fixes itself. Right? So if I change this to a button. Buttons are not self-closing, by the way. Button. Fuck off, man. They changed something. They changed something. So that should be this guy? Or is it this guy? I gotta refresh. Is it this guy? Or is it this guy? No? It's still overriding. That's so fucking weird. Okay, so that's this guy. I've not seen this behavior before, so let's find out what I did wrong, I guess. So I thought that was submit specific. You are the one. Active. Background color. Me and you are the one. Don't make me put important in here. I'll fucking do it. I don't want to, though. I do not want to use import. Okay, that was it. It wasn't overriding because I'm using background image, not background color. I love CSS. It's like the greatest thing ever. I've never experienced a scripting language more powerful and more unique in its behaviors. Fucking baby, I just want to make you stop right now. All right. Okay, it's fine. It works. It's fine. That is the behavior we want. Staring up my heart when I'm with you. When we are apart, I feel it too. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Yeah, the other thing is I could put important, but that means on like a fundamental level, I have failed. I have failed the understanding of how the language works, and it's my fault. And I can't accept that as a thing that is acceptable. I should not be putting important. Her tail wiggles. I finally got her tail to wag. It's not idly wagging. Like I gotta make it wag, but it wigs. Also, I was trying to figure out where her file was stored to play with the hand movements. And, yeah, she has some issues because of the way I set up her bones for her hair. I over-physicsed them. So it has like a bajillion errors and just kind of ignores like half of them. But we'll get idle animations. So my plan is to finish this website, integrate what we've learned into Herbot, and then when we do that, I'm gonna go back into Blender, and we're gonna fix her. I don't know if we're gonna fix her or if we're gonna build her from scratch, right? We may just chop off the head and just make a new body and try again. There's some stuff there's some tutorials I've seen now to make doing some of the stuff I did to get the Unreal Mannequin to work, but what we may end up doing is just taking limbs off and getting the weights painted in such a way that the arms move, you know, exactly the way we want, and then stitching it all back together. It may be what we have to do. I'm not sure yet. I'm just having issues, like you saw earlier with her thighs just clipping through her clothes and shit, and obviously, minimum viable product is what you're looking at, and we're just gonna use streams to make it more viable. Alright. Anyways. So if I take this out, will I still get the same behavior? No. No, I am not. Because I'm not overriding background color, so I need both of these overrid. I need background color overrid here, and I need background image overrid from here. Okay, fair enough. And if I hit refresh, yep. Okay, that's. Do we want to change the text color while we're in there? I think we should, right? I think for this, I think we can get away with var tac dark, probably. It's not gonna override, is it? I have to refresh. I need to remember that I'm set up to do that right now. Yeah. So when you hold click, it changes like that. Yeah, I think that's nice. All right, so in here, the next thing we need to do here is now that we've changed what this looks like, I want to change the way it writes. So we're gonna just close the screen for the time being, because we're gonna switch topics. We're gonna go back into the server. All right, so in the file server, when we submit this stuff, we triple check to make sure that the user didn't fuck up, right? So I want to make sure the user gave me all the variables I'm looking for. So then we go through and check them. We're gonna make sure that none of them have, one, that the key is there, and then two, that the value isn't spacebar. Character description. Okay, we need one more thing for character description. Let's knock that out real quick, now that I'm looking at it. Before we come back. So in here, what we need to do, this is kind of silly, but I have to do this. That's from me. Where is his listener? Oh, he doesn't have a listener, does he? Yeah, because he doesn't care. Alright, so the first thing we're gonna do in here is update config is fine, because we're gonna fix the issue. But we want to do a on blur. Alright, so we need a listener for this guy, for something specific. So on this guy, this submit button here, I'll bring back the screen because we're not done. So this guy right now, you can submit him with a bunch of garbage here, right? We don't want that behavior. We don't want that behavior. That behavior is garbage. So what we're gonna do is add event listener. I think it's just called blur. I don't ever remember. On or dot value equals dot target dot value dot trim. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of all the we're gonna get all the spaces at the end of the sentence. Actually, we might want to go further than that. Regex, remove all special characters except periods, exclamation marks, and question marks. And then we probably have to tell it to remove HTML too, but that's wrong. That's wrong. This will work. I think this is not, I think there's supposed to be a G here. I don't think it's supposed to be GI. Let's see if we got a smaller one. Yeah, this is it. This is the one we want right there. All right. I don't know why I know that. I can't read regex. I know this is the correct one. So we go if e.target.value and e.target.value.trim does not equal blank. All right. Actually, here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna assume that they could, in theory. So one, we want to make sure e.target.value exists, and then if it doesn't equal scribbles, if it doesn't equal scribbles, we'll do this, and then else will well, actually, this is always the end result. Okay, yeah. So I guess that's always the answer. So we just need to make sure it exists. Yeah, and then we'll just make the target trimmed. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so then we're gonna do trim. And then we're going to do replace all. And then we're going to do replace all. I don't think you have to do replace all with a regex like this. However, I always do because I don't fucking know. Because I haven't. That's a thing I need to learn about that I have not learned about. So of these things I want them to be able to have periods. We want them to have exclamation points. And if there's a question in here, we want questions to be allowed. And I think that's it. So if we refresh it, this is you were seeing a hurricane. I need to see. Alright, so it's not blur. Oh, you say such a fan. And you see event listener lose focus. What is lose focus? Focus out. The downside of working in React and then working and previously having worked in, all right, so if we go boop and then hit some mate on blur, that should have cleared itself out. So I don't like that. Did not work. Yeah, and I should have never been able to send that. So is it not focus out? Focus out events, and then if there's a value in the target, or is there no target? Focus out. Okay, so focus out event fires when an element loses focus after the blur event. Right. But does hitting tab count as a blur event? I don't think so. Well, let's find out, right? We can just do this. We blurred. Alright. So if we refresh, bleh. Then we're not getting that event, so it's not working, is what's happening. Oh, it's not working because it's not a button. That doesn't help. Oopsie! I picked the wrong thing. I wanted description L, not, I wanted description L, not the button. That's probably why that's not working. Alright. So if we now blur, alright, here we go. Cannot read property of undefined reading trim. Oh, yeah, because I gotta do this again. At least we saw it work that time. And it didn't crash, which was cool. I like when it doesn't crash. And then if you spell value correctly, that would probably help too. Alright. So let's refresh it. And then if I tab out, yeah. So now we got it all cleaned up. And then even though we don't have to, and this is kind of redundant, but we're doing it for a reason. We're gonna do it up here too before we submit it. Just in case somehow it doesn't reset fast enough for you to hit the submit button. Alright, cool. Then if we look in here, we shouldn't see garbage anymore. That's the goal on that one. We may also want to strip out HTML, but we'll see. I don't really plan on having the character descriptor be able to have HTML in it. Ever, actually. Yeah. But I'm not going to. This regex should be enough to tear apart special characters that it'll look like HTML, but it won't be HTML. We'll leave it alone. There's a way to strip out HTML too, if we want to. But I think this'll be fine for now. No, it won't. Come on, Flamewheel, you're not gonna think that's acceptable. Remove HTML from a string and JavaScript regex. Put your hands up. Okay, May. That juice on your lips. I know that it's true. I don't know what IG means, but IG never works. Nope, that's the hard way. Alright, that topic isn't the right one. Fuck off! Yeah, it's just this. I don't know. I don't think the /GI needs to be there, though. Let's do... Yeah. I think this is supposed to be G as well. I don't think it's supposed to be GI. I don't know what GI does, but I know that /G works every time, and I've never seen anything other than /G work. But that's probably limited knowledge on my part. So let's just grab this. Come here. Copy. So if we go like this. Yeah, so that's not the behavior we want. So that stripped the stuff on the outside of the HTML, but we want to strip everything that is HTML. So that is not actually what I asked for. I want to remove tags. Right. So what this should come out, what I want... Right, but what's this look like? This would return hello world only. But that's only if you know what you're looking for. I don't know what I'm looking for. It's this thing. Pretty sure it's this thing. Yeah, pretty sure it's that. Like, this works if you just want to strip the shape out, but I want to strip all of it out. Long. Alright, so let's clear that out. Paste. No, it still did the same thing. Okay, that doesn't work either. How unfortunate. I was hoping, but there's the fucking ass in the sky. That's not what I want, though. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. We'll just use the one we had first, because it's going to do the same thing. We'll just leave it alone. This is not exactly what I was looking for. It still leaves... Alright, we'll just leave myself a note. Alright, cool. Alright, so now that we've got that working, and clean enough, let's go back into the server. We want to change the behavior of this config. So obviously we want to check it to make sure it's good. So we don't care at that point, we're happy, right? It's this portion that we need to change. Let's see. Where we do the writing. Alright, here we go. So we want to take old data, right? And parse it in here. And then we want to change the old last update to be a different thing, right? So how do I update a key? I don't actually know. I don't actually know. I've never done this before, so this will be fun. JavaScript, replace key, name, and object. Yeet. Hopefully it's simple. In the scroll. So we copy it into a new key, and then we just add it. Surely there's a... let's see what... Syntax key equals old key. Okay, you win. I see. Alright, so then we're gonna take old data dot What's it called? Last update. Let's, fuck. We need this to name itself. So it's not gonna be, what is it previously? So we have initial config. This would be new date dot get time, essentially. So this would be like this. I don't know if it'll let me do this. Will it? No. All right, there's another way to do this. All right. So we have the object old data, right? So we go, call my mama, where the fuck is my phone? Alright. Okay, this is how we'll do it. So we'll do let new key equal new date dot get time. So that gives an ISO timestamp. And then let old data equals unwrap old data. This baby V8 sound. Comma old data dot last update. So then we do new key semicolon that. So this will unwrap, take last update. Last update will get nuked with the update. So basically we go parse the config, make a name for a new key, take the old config, unwrap him and make a copy, then take the last update in old data, give it a new key, and then this will overwrite last update, and then we're good to go, is what should happen. Let's find out. All right, so let's refresh. We'll just make this all zeros and call this zeros, and then hit Samate. All right, so that has resetted. So if we look in here now and hit Control Save, huzzah. Now we have a timestamp of the last update before this update. So this is our last update, and this is the one that we just did. Or this is the one before that. So that's the behavior we want. That way, if we want to go back and play with other settings, we can. But what we do not want to do is pass down from the server a giant JSON file to the client. The client doesn't want a giant pile of bullshit to process through, because we'll just slow down the client, right? So we'll just process that on the server. So we now go back into app for the get. There should be a get config in here. Then Cadillac, and I don't want to give it back, get it back. So you see down here, we have this config, and then we're writing, and then we're passing in data here. So this is send config. So we're reading the file, and then we get the data, right? So what we want to give them is data.last update. We should only send them the last update in their data. So it should be data, I think it's called data semicolon like that. Or no, I think message is fine that way. We'll find out in a sec. Go. Okay, no, it doesn't like that. It doesn't like that at all. So this is a mistake. So, oh, because we're parsing data first before we do anything. All right, so we're parsing data. All right, so that's not gonna work, is it? All right, so we need to parse that above this res write. So we need to do let new, or let config equal json.parse.data dot, all right, and then we'll cl config. I just want to see what that looks like. Reload, please. Thank you. All right, so here's config here. So then we want to pass in console.config dot last update. All right, refresh. So we go down here. Here's last update. All right. And then what was this guy looking for? This guy is looking for a thing called config with a last update in it. So it needs a message that says last update semicolon. So right here, we can now do last update semicolon. It'll be like this. Last update config.last update. E.Control. All right, so we'll do that. And there might be a way to just do that in here without unwrapping it like this, but I'm not going to. I don't think it's necessary. If we're already creating memory in here anyways, it really doesn't matter. All right, so it's not angry, and it took zeros in. So if we look here, let's see. We got config with a last update in it. Huzzah! There we go. That fixes that problem. Inverse is down for my rave attack. All right, so now we've fixed this so that we can keep a message thingy in here. Can I just do data dot? No, because we're reading it, so it doesn't know what data looks like, so it has to be parsed. It has to be parsed, unfortunately. Hate you so much that you want the worst damn nightmare. So if we catch the error here. Okay, so this doesn't throw an error, so if we run this, it's just gonna end in here. That's fine. And the smell of your blood. Oh, sensational. So you can see here where the server restarted. We have a state of server disconnected, which was something we wanted. And bring up. Give me all your love, all your tears, all the days you feel your love, your pain, your thrills. Alright, so what are the actual settings of the config? It should be 0.7, 0, 40, 0, 0.1, 1.1. I need to change the tab order on that, I think. We'll need to do the tab orders in here. And the car is Catgirl Vtuber. Is Anime Catgirl. Blood. And then if we go in here, we now have the one we were playing with, the one that we just did with all zeros, our last update, which is what we just did, and then our initial state. Our initial state does not have a character descriptor. We may have to add that too. But I'll add that later where you guys can't see it, because it's more fun if you don't know. Anyways, those who wanna burn them down, burn them down. I'll make your heart stop. I'll make your heart stop. Alright, so let's handle the prompt now, I guess. Stop. We'll make your heart stop. Pain, I hate you feel. Give me all your love, your pain, your thrill. The one thing I don't know how to handle is right now if you chat, you just hit enter and it submits. So if you're trying to write like a paragraph, it's not gonna work. But we'll deal with that when the time comes, I think. I don't think I'm gonna deal with it right now. Burn them down. Alright. So the next step is this prompt. Now that we have our configs. I don't know if we pass our prompts. I don't know if we pass our config settings into the prompts. We probably do just to make my life easier. Let's go into our controller for our config. We gotta actually make a function. Alright, so let's go export get configuration. It does not care. Come on, Flame Wheel. Export function get config. I'm not disappointed. You're disappointed. Alright. So we're gonna do get config here. And all config is gonna do is this. It's just gonna return new config. So we can go down here, and it'll just be return, Millicomb, baby. So we'll just return this object. What is your issue? Oh, did I do that? Where? Node.js crashed at Q in the dashboard? Did I oops? I oopsed. Where'd I oops? Oh, there was a Q there for some reason. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Alright, so we have a function for get config. So now we have all the input values from here. Since this widget already has these defined, I don't want to make more of the same definition to just pass these. So this is essentially a class now with a getter and a setter, and then all this private logic that you don't need to see. Essentially is what this is now. But I like modules better, because then I can just pick what I export. But it's technically a class without the verbosity. Alright, so now that we have that, we can go back to, where are you? Controller. So we have there's a prompt thing. So we have a post prompt function here. There we go. Main prompt, add event listener. If we click on it, it listens. If they press enter, we're gonna do prompt.post, but we're gonna change how this works. So we'll probably do the same logic we did on the other side. So let's do, alright, where is, I am veggies. Alright, so let's do this the same way. We're not going to, this is gonna strip out the same HTML this thing scripts out, so who fucking cares? We'll just do that for now. So let's do, yeah, so we'll just grab this. This is fine. So back in controller, we're gonna do this, dot this. Otherwise, if it's an empty space, we're not gonna submit. So prompt equals, let config equal get configuration, and then prompt is prompt e.target is, so now post prompt is dot config, comma, prompt. So now, this is a prompt. Now if I hit prompt here, what we just passed in is not what I have to hit refresh, because I have to. I hate it here. So now, it should look like this, right? So we got our character description, our prompt, and all the other settings that we have in our config. And then if we look here, we got them all back here in the server. So that is the behavior we want. That's hot. Spaceman, and I'm rocking on my back. Spaceman, I'm raving like a maniac. Spaceman. Alright, so now we're getting that in prompt here. I probably want to do this same data validation that we're doing here in the config. Yeah, and then we're just going to change the try section here. Yeah, so let's do it like this. Saves it. And then if everything fails. Alright, then we'll just grab this. Alright, so in prompt here, we essentially should just be able to paste over this. But instead of description, we should also have prompt. Alright, so in theory now, this one should do the same validation. We're just going to put our missing or our blank, empty strings. Alright, so now in theory, to test that, what we would do, or the easiest check, is in here, in the controller, we have this here. We just do config dot character description dot, or we just do delete with this gun in my hand. So now if we hit submit, it should fail. Ugh. So you can see here, we deleted character description. So we got a bug, so we got a fault. And we notified the user that shit's fucked. Alright, cool. So now if we delete that, in the server, we should just check that this is a thing. So we're gonna try here to console.log rec body. Alright. So this will be prompt n, this will be prompt config rec body. Alright. So if I hit enter, nothing will happen. Shmeh. There we go. So in the server here, we got all our configs, the character description, and our prompt. Alright, cool. So now we can actually do something here. This is where the fun begins. This is the stuff I haven't gotten to show off yet. I only kind of have this memorized, so you'll have to bear with me. We are going to copy and paste some, just for setup. So we have Jessica Chatbot here, right? This is the child process. This is the thing that's going to get turned on. So if we look at the top here, at the top of our application, Faker, you're the fake flame wheel around here. I have to reuse stuff. I just have to. We'd never get this done because I could relearn this, but why? All right, so at the very top of our application, he's a phony. So up here we have constant.jesse.dispatch here, and this creates a child fork. A child fork is Node's equivalent to a web worker. So where a web worker can use a third thread on the client, a child.process.fork uses an individual thread on the server side. And you can spin up as many of these as you want that your server can handle. And then at that point, if you go over the amount of threads you have, the thread scheduler is going to do thread scheduler shit. I'm going to pause the music real quick so I can brief this a little bit better and focus without trying to sing. So essentially, we're calling this file here ChatBot, and then I'm just going to describe what we need to do, right? So we're calling this here, and then if we look in the file, we only have one case where we're calling that. So right here, this on message is a response from dispatch, from this bot, to the server to tell the server it wants to do something. So in here, I'm only listening for messages called SSE, which transmits messages from this bot, or will essentially transmit message from this bot to this. This SSE is this thing here that we write to for our configs. This res.write, that's part of our SSE. This whole path is, essentially. So when the browser starts here, which we demoed previously, in the controller, if we look at the top here, the first thing we do is get an event source. Our event source is that SSE endpoint. So in that SSE endpoint, we can then process messages, and that's what we do here. And then if it closes or crashes for any reason, we get messages. That's what gives us our state and our config at the beginning when we open up the browser, right? So this tells me I set a state that says we're connected to the server. And then we have a config successful saying that we successfully posted the config, right? Because the base settings... Ooh, whatever. Oh, it's just being weird. All right, one more time. So if we refresh here, it's just automatically getting these messages from the SSE server, right? So when you successfully hit the endpoint, it responds with this. And because of these tags up here at the top... where are you? That's the controller, that's not the server. So on the server side, we give it a header that says, hey, this is an SSE, and then something I shouldn't do, and then tell it to keep the connection alive. Documentation says this is not necessary. This third one is not necessary anymore, but I'm not going to find out if that's true or not. I'm not going to play with it. I know it helps regardless. So the browser now knows, hey, this is a stream. So this is going to constantly give text in streams, and they're going to be in UTF-8. So everything we write is going to be parsed in JSON and then sent over. So that's what this parsed message does in the controller, is the parsed message essentially goes through, converts that JSON to string, and then does stuff with it. So if we go here, let parse, we try to parse the message, we log the message. If there's an error, we throw an error in the browser. And then we have our switch with the parsed message. So once we've converted it from JSON to something meaningful, then if we've defined our messages in a way that can be processed, this switch will then process every message we get from the server. So what that means in the server itself is now that we're sending that, we can then turn her on. So we send a dispatch to the chatbot here to say, hey, the user's connected and now you can talk to it, and the client gets this thread all to itself. Oh god, I have clicked the wrong button. Do not look at that description. That's awful. So here, we now have that thread. So the first thing we're going to have to do in this actual child process that doesn't exist yet, in here, the first thing we're going to do is on message, we'll set up a switch to handle messages. Because there may be other things we want the application to be able to do in the future. So we'll set up a basic switch to handle any messages that comes into the child, right? Because inside of this SSE process, if we want to, since we are calling it, if we want other functionality, since we have access to this universally, we can just talk to this thread anytime and send it new messages. On the other hand, in here, we're just receiving messages from the robot, and that's what this on does. But we can also post messages to it by using Jesse dot. I don't remember what it is. I think it's dot. Yeah, so we can add different things. So we can emit events to it. I think we can just send messages. You can send a message just one time. You can give it references. Dot send is what we would use. So basically, you do dot send, and then you would do a dispatch, essentially. That is basically, it would be something that looks like this, I think. So it's payload, semicolon, type, semicolon, blah, comma. It'd be like payload dot type, and then I think it's data. You can do data. This you can shape yourself. So you can do data, or you could do, like, for what we're doing in here, it's called a message most of the time, I think is what I call it. So I'll probably keep that as the way we do that in here. This will just be, yeah, there's some other things too. So in React, it's called, this would be called action, and then this would be called data. But in here, what we're going to do is we're going to do message type, and then the actual message is how we're doing that. So we're just going to do a bunch of, and this can be defined by you. Your switch is going to dictate how this looks. I don't even think you have to use payload. I think payload is the default. So I think it looks like this, essentially. So you would just basically, hey, here's a message type of wake up. Why don't you put on a little makeup? And then these messages can be anything you want, right? So it can just be like, quote is the key, and then like that, right? So we can do something like message, and then whatever we want the message to contain. It can be any kind of data. But yeah, so you can name these however you want. I'm just going to use message type and message because that's the way I used it for Twitch. So we're just going to keep with that theme, so I don't have to change it on everything. Because if we look down here, when I send data, we send two things of data. We send a message type, and we send a message body. Message.body. We send a message with a type, and we send a body. Oh, did I call it body instead of data? I guess that technically makes sense, right? I guess we'll stick with that then. So so the item is called message, which I think is just how we predefined it. Yeah, so she sends a message. Oh, wait, we can see it in on. So on has an event called message, and then the message is what we sent over. Yeah. So message is an event type. So we're just calling it message here. And then in the message, I have a message type and I have a body, essentially, or a message. I have a message that has a message, message.message, message type. All right, we're calling it message.message. Fuck it. Yep, calling it message.message. Yep, so we'll have a message type and then we'll send messages. So it'll be basically a pub and sub kind of relationship going on there. And then in the controller, essentially, what we would do is we need an event that listens. So we'll need a switch up here that listens. and then we'll need another switch that does new messages out, and then we'll have all the basic class-like function. All right, I think that's a very murky description of what I'm about to do. All right, so we're gonna open up another instance of VS Code that you can't see for a second, because I don't have this memorized, so I'm not gonna try to remember. And I obviously could just relearn this on stream, but that doesn't sound nearly as fun as just reusing code I've already made. Past Wheel is pretty smart, so I'm just gonna assume he has a shit on lock. That's my assumption. It's bold, I know. So I'll show you what was going on, why I'm confused for a second there. So anytime Twitch sends me a message in her code, it looks like this. We have a message type, some other sub bullshit, and then a message. So that's just a message from Twitch. What are you angry about? Yeah, no, it doesn't exist. Fuck off. Anyway, so let's go into her bot. Where's her brains? There's her brains. This is what I want. Alright, so how did I do this? Alright, console.log. Alright, so this is the way I handled it last time. So we have a function that basically, when it receives a message... What is your problem? We don't have a function called message processor. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I stay I'll be dying. And obviously, we could just put the switch in the, Alright, so there you go. So you can see here, we set up that, message here, and then we got it here because it's not an option. You see how we only have a case of Twitch, and we have a console.log here? So we have a log where we wake up here. So we sent this message here to this child, essentially. Which we don't have to, but we will. So we sent a message in here. We logged it here, which is that top one. And then once it got through here, it went to the message processor, which this switch could be built into this process.onMessage. And I might do it, but I like the separation a tiny bit. Because we could add a catch here and just reply automatically and be like, hey, this is fucked. If we wanted to, if he's a try catch. Which he should be. He should be a try catch, because he could crash. So we'll just do try, and then we'll do a catch down here, and we'll catch our error. And obviously, when we redo this in Go, it's not going to work exactly the same here. And then I'm just going to throw this error back up to the top here, right? So then here, we can catch, because this is now something that throws an error. We can catch the error, and we can process it here. So if for whatever reason this gets a result that it crashes, which we could put down here too, we just throw new error, bad message to AI, and then we'll just send back the message, or bad message type to AI, and then we can do our squigglies, and we'll just do whatever the message.type was. All right. So essentially now if we pass something we're not supposed to, this will catch the error, and then we'll just see it. We'll just console.log the error real quick just to see it, just to make sure it actually shows up back here. Yeah, so you can see here, here's the error, but the server didn't crash, I don't think. So you can see how it doesn't say server is not running. Let's just do console.error. Alright, so you can see here, we got a bad thing, but it's still running, right? So if I hit post here, we haven't crashed the server, in theory, right? So we also don't need this break anymore, technically, in this, because it's gonna throw a new error, regardless. So we're just gonna get an error every time now. And it tells me where that error came from. So we have it here, it got here, and we're catching it here, so we're just handling it here. And then we're just gonna report the error. I just wanna tell myself it's fucked, but I don't want the server to crash, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really care that a bad message went through into the message processor, because it's intentional to give it bad data initially, because we're going to have to define our cases as we go. So we'll at least get a message that tells us what went wrong, but it can tell you where. So like here, it got rejected, the child rejected it, and the child emitted the event, and then where it actually got emitted from here, and then the first spot it hit. So generally in the troubleshooting of like JavaScript, you just go to the very top one, and it's pretty much going to tell you what went wrong, and where it's fucked. So in this case, if we go here and click on 1615, we can see here, this is where the error came from. Now, it's not necessarily going to tell you where in the stack it came from if you're throwing an error, right? Because this is a fake error, right? So if we put, the name of this is wake up. So if I put wake up here, I put wake up here, and then we can do console.log message.message. There we go. So now, because it's a good one and it's not an error, it's coming here as quote. This is message. So then I can do message.quote if I wanted. And then this time it's just going to come out like that. Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much that for that. And then we can also set up dispatchers inside of her as well, which we will have to do. There's going to be at least two things we're going to want in here. So that's where we're going to grab from this other application. So what we're going to want in this ChatBot folder is we're going to want, I don't know if I need another folder or if I just need sub files. Let's do files just so I don't confuse myself. So we'll have the LLM in here, and then when we get to it, text to speech will be in here too. Yeah. So we'll just put two placeholder here. So this will be Jesse TTS.js, and then in LLM we'll have one just called Jesse LLM.js. That way we now have two things we can dispatch to as well. So we might as well just grab this message header out of this one, and then we'll just grab both of these things, because we're gonna have to use them regardless, so we might as well have them. So in here we'll have a process, and then in here, and then these will only process if they get something new. So we're just gonna put wake up in here for now. So now in Jesse's bot here at the top here, I want to leave the processor here at the top, but we'll move the switch down, because the switch will be at the bottom of the program. But I want to make sure that this on process is here so that Flamewheel knows in the future this is something he has to fuck with. So now what we can do is we can do let Jesse, we'll do Jessica, LLM, equal the exact same process we just did. So we're going to do another child fork. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, yeah. I do not like that. All right. So then we do child.process, and then we're going to make this path. And I never remember how to do paths. So we don't need Jessica behaviors. I think we can just go like this. And then we can do LLM, and then we can do jesse.lm.js, which I don't think we have to do on the server. I think it doesn't care, but we're just gonna do this we probably want the whole path, don't we? We actually have to have the whole path, which we can just grab from the app itself. So it'll be like this. Yeah, so you can see here it doesn't have a default right now. So we go like this. Let's get this funny sound out. Getting drunk. So we're going to triple check to make sure this opens. So if I put this in File Explorer, in theory, it should just open. Yep, okay, so we're good. All right, so that path's good. So now we can replace it here. All right, so now we've got Jessica. And then basically we can just do Jessica LLM.send. And then we're going to send it message type. It's wake up. And then wake up has a message. And that message is quote, Jesse LM awaken. So then if we look down here, it crashed, because I have this up here, Delort. We need to import child process. We need this. Alright, so what is this main one called? The main one is called ChatBot. So this is the one that needs this import. There we go. So now he's happy. And then you can see here that Jessica's LLM has gotten the new quote. So you can see that this is currently working. So we'll have to have a processor for her responses as well. And then we'll do the same thing just temporarily. We'll call this Jessica TTS. And then we'll do the exact same thing. Only we're going to have this called, instead of LLM, we call this TTS. And then we call this TTS. Alright, so then we can do the exact same thing we did here. And obviously the console's going to get real busy, at least initially, for this initial setup, just so that we can see what's going on, and I'll trim down the consoles as we go. But we want to make sure everything's working. Alright, so we look here. We've got TTS wake up, we got LLM make wake up, and then we have this guy functioning. So that's essentially all we need to do to get these things to work, at least at the beginning, right? So the initial setup is done. This thing now processes messages, and then it'll have a way to send messages later. We're going to, I think we only need one instance of message. We don't need a message going through both spots. Because if it gets in here, we'll know pretty quick. So let's clean that up on all of these. Yeah, we'll do that there. and then where's LLM? We'll do the same thing here. We don't need to console the message twice. And then we probably want to make this more clear what we're trying to do, but we'll get there. We're just gonna have this quote here. That's all we're gonna console for now. We do not need the LLM or the TTS yet. We still need to set up the chatbot to actually process stuff. So that's what we'll do next. After I get me some, I'll figure out where my water went. So getting water real quick. All right. Follow me, good times, follow me. Cool. Weezy wiggling, Weezy moving. Oh, it's good to have more control. I like that. I think that feels nice. It feels like I'm moving in. All right. This will be my last sip of my gamer subs, and then we're out for 2 days. That face? All right. All right. Now we just have water, but I shouldn't have been drinking caffeine afternoon anyways. It's whatever. Sleep is for the weak. Weekdays? Week? W-E-A-K? I don't know. All right. Well, since we're quoting this anyways, let's play this one song, and then we'll go back. Yeah, we'll stop. We'll take one small song break. I gotta remember to cut this. So, Flamewheel, I'm leaving you a note. At 2 hours, you need to cut this. So what we'll do here is this will be the LLM, or Jesse LLM message processor, right? And then it'll just be message. So this one will handle all messages from the LLM. And then we'll have another one in here, async function. And then we'll do this one for Jessica TTS message processor. Yeah, like a cemetery. So we'll set up the exact same switch. So basically this will be, so this will be a giant switch that's basically Jessica LLM dot on, and the only event we want to listen to is message. That is the event we want. We want to process the message that she sends, and then we're gonna have a switch. And this switch essentially is gonna be a try catch block. We don't call it error, we call it and then we'll just throw error. I don't suspect we'll get an error. And then just like this one, we're going to have a switch that processes what it has to say. And we'll have the same throw here. We could also have the LLM, we could just have the LLM live in this processor. But this is only, no, we can't have it live there. We need it to live outside so that if it sends a message, we can get it and process it. So we want this to live out here, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, I'm overthinking this. That's what I did. All right. I see what I did. I thought too hard on that one. So essentially, it's like this. This processes the message, comma, and then our callback is Jessica LLM processor message, right? And then this would be, because this is a callback function that is message, and then an arrow function. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I don't know if this has to be wrapped. Let's look. I don't remember. Dot send. Okay, so this one's not wrapped. How are we processing message? Yeah, like this. Message, arrow function, do the thing. All right, cool. So we got that right. I can close this other instance of this just so I don't eat up RAM. If I have enough RAM, it should be fine. We'll just let it memory leak for a while. Let's ask the task manager how bad it is. Yeah, we're fine. We choke. I'm yours and you are mine. Let's go. She's not doing anything yet, so we don't have to worry about it yet. Go! Alright, so basically, when they send a message, we'll process the message and we'll toss it in the message processor. We're not gonna wait. We're not gonna put in a wait here. We're just gonna let it hit and let it just spool. We don't care if we get out of order bullshit. It'll just process. And then we'll just set this case to be I'm alive, or let's call this LLM alive. And then inside of LLM, things are not in order and I don't like it. Come here. Let's get you guys in order, shall we? Actually, let's just close all other tabs. All right, so we want Jessica's bot and we want the TTS, and we'll leave the app open for now. We do not want to look at the client. We don't have to look at the client at all. Let's commit this real quick. Prompt and configs API posts and char descript. And then we'll put the ones that affects, which is controller, this. We'll commit those. And then these will be committed as updating or setting up LLM and forks or child forks. Yeah, there we go. So now those are separated because they're they are related topics technically, but not related in so much that I want to have them be on the same upload for my commits. I want them to be separated. All right. So now we've got LLM alive, and then we're just gonna process message dot quote again, because we'll just pass quotes around until we're happy. So in here, we've now gotten to wake up, and we've gotten this message, right? So now we can do, I think it's just dot send. I don't think we have to do anything else. And then we can just send a packet that says, we can send a package that's message type, semicolon, comma, message, and then message is a thing, and then quote. And then we'll just say LLM has awakened. So now if we go back in here, dot send is not. Is it process dot send? Process dot send? Yeah, there we go. So then we got our wake up message, and then we sent a message. And then in here, we should have logged LLM alive. Did I spell that right? Process dot send. So Jessica message processor. So this should have messaged, what was the LLM has awakened, did not get it did not send. I have missed something. Message type, message quote. All right, refresh. Did I miss a step? Because we can agree it does not say LLM has awoken. All right, are we not processing? Let's see if we even got a message. Because we may not have gotten a message. I may have fucked up. Oh. No? LLM. For definition. So, on message, we get a message. So this didn't send a message. See how that says TTS up there? Close you? You were not the thing I'm looking for. Alright. Let's try that again, shall we? I don't need that or that. Oh, hey! It would help if I was in the right folder, right? There we go. We got our message, and then we responded. Perfect. Alright. So we sent a quote over, and it processed it here. Yeah. The only thing I miss that I like doing in console that I can't do here is this node does not report back what line that shit fed out of. But it's whatever. All right, so we got our quote back. So that means this is now working. So now we can send messages back and forth. So this is our message processor for her, LLM, and then we're gonna do the exact same thing for the TTS. And since we've already tested that, or we already have that set up, we should just be able to do this. And then if we do that, TTS should do something still. We have to actually process messages from him first, though. We're not doing that, so that'll be like a basement. All right, so then we'll do that. Change this to TTS, and then we should have all that stuff in the dashboard now. Nope. This. All right, so then we go down here, change that to this, and in theory, we now have TTS awakened. TTS is awake. LLM has awakened. LLM is awake. Why don't you put on a little makeup? We now have all our console logs going through like we intended. So now we're getting the actual stuff we need to have happen, right? So we got our message here. We start the LLM. We start the TTS. We send a message to the TTS to the LLM, make sure it's awake. We then process its messages. We do the same thing with the TTS, and then we process its messages. So let's leave ourselves some notes real quick, just so we don't forgore. Initialize LLM. All right, and then initialize TTS, and then send LLM wake up message. Now we don't have to, in the future, we don't have to do this. We're just doing this to make sure everything's captured. Process LLM messages, and then we'll do the exact same thing down here. Change LLM to TTS, and then I think that's our initial setup for all of our workers for this version of the application. Luckily, Flame will already learn this once, so this piece isn't too long. The fun begins next, where we start setting up the rest of the robot, because there's some behaviors that we're going to have to deal with, and I think it might be temperature specific. So that's where things get fun. Does it make you sick? Make you sick. Alright, so, and we could also be missing things, so we may have to add stuff to the other pieces real quick, too. As we go along, we may have to add stuff to the client. We don't actually need the client open, I like having the visual on the screen, even if it's not doing anything. It feels nice, I think. I think it just gives a nice, hey, this is what's going on. Alright, so, we're gonna ignore TTS for the time being. We don't need to do anything in TTS. But we know we can hook to it. I'm gonna close these logs off. Let's keep adding notes. So we got initialize LLM, initialize the TTS. These are just wake up messages. Delete later. These are examples. Because we'll do some other stuff that already will handle this. Because essentially the server is going to dispatch into this bot here, and then this bot's going to process all requests and send it to the different threads it needs to do. So this has its own thread, and then it dispatches to 2 other threads. So then the app is free to keep running while this does whatever the fuck it needs to, and then when the app gets a message back as an SSE, it'll process it. And then we don't process any other messages from this bot. If it's not an SSE message, the application will not process it. It won't even catch it that it sent it a message. And I don't intend for this guy to feed the controller anything. Let me make sure these are set up right. Yes. All right, cool. Let's commit this now that we're working. Or let's finish taking notes and then we'll commit these. At least I'll have notes then. So we're telling myself I want to delete these as examples because we'll send those in here inside this switch as we get further along. All right, so let's see. Let me just grab this because this will actually describe these functions, right? So this is cool. I don't know if this works in Node, but I know it works in, it does. Okay, so you see this here? That's this. This describes what happens. Let's actually set this up so I can actually show it off because this replaces TypeScript. Not that I was ever going to learn TypeScript. If we go like that, this is going to process a message, which is a object, essentially, right? And then it returns nothing. It returns void. Void? Like that. Yeah, so if we go here now, if we hover over this, it'll show that it returns a void and that it takes in a message that's any type, which is not quite. Okay, so object isn't a thing. Okay. So this thing doesn't know it's an object, but then we can put a descriptor after it. So we can do basically message shaped, message type. This is switch, and then message. And we'll just put any type of object. So then if we go here and hover over this real quick, you'll see those notes are here now. So he basically takes in a message, and then the message could be shaped message. This is the switch controller, and then any type of object. So now it tells me, as a note, what the hell I'm doing here, essentially. If Jesus Christ came back, we'd kill that fucker twice. Now, there are some downsides I noticed, because I don't know how this works. Sometimes this comment will break async functions, because I don't know how to use it properly. So we have to be careful. But this does the same thing, so. This is the switch. I guess we'll just say switch case here. It'll just be switch case. And then the actual message. So if we hover over this, it has to be like message is shaped, and then this is what it looks like. And it's a good enough note for what we need to do. And then if we have any additional notes, we want to put message processor, TTS messages. Yeah, and then we'll just put that up here, and then we'll put LLM. So then if we hover these functions anywhere in the project, it's going to look like that. So this is a message processor for LLM messages. This is a message processor for TTS. Yeah. So now we can tell ourselves what we need to know. And we should probably add these notes to the server, but I'm not going to do that right now. All right, so set up message processing, added notes. This just tells us what we need to know. So now we have those committed. So our initial setup is now done. I'm going to take a short break, and then we'll be back. Ugh. My phone is making noise. So it looks like every time you run an ad, let's see, is there anything important in here? People going live on Twitch. Everybody's streaming it Saturday. All right. Looks like if you run a set of ads you can run an ad every 7 minutes. And then if you run one, every time you run one, no one gets pre-roll ads for 20 minutes. And I think there's a way to just schedule that. I know why Twitch needs ads, and I know why they would give you the incentive to run it, but it still kind of sucks. But what you gonna do? Not a goddamn thing. Alright, we'll let that finish. I wish I knew when they were randomly running ads, but I think it's just if you run ads, you get ads. And then there's no pre-roll. I'm an addict because I'm not right over. While I'm thinking about it, let's update this. So we did add the character description. And I jumped in, he shit go to hell, I could jump and first out the window, dark thoughts keep on filling up in my mind. Whoa, get fucked, make love to a chainsaw, wrap my drop top around the lamppost, not sure I'll be coming back down this time. Alright, so we added that, and then we got config get down here. Config get can also get struck through. Alright, so we're looking pretty good. We're getting more slashes in here. Could jump and first out the window, dark force keep on filling up in my mind. No. Alright, so random question while we're looking at this. I have a reset chat history button. Where would that go? Right here, maybe? Oh, she's in the way. So if we had a reset chat button, would it just be at the bottom of the chat widget, or would it be over here by the prompt? Or would it be floating just kind of somewhere along this bar, you know? Because I don't know that I would want it at the end of this, because I want this to stay centered. So it would be a position absolute inside of this mess here. So I don't know if that would be here, or maybe... It probably doesn't make sense to have it here or here. Go to hell, I could jump head first out the window. Dark thoughts keep on filling up in my mind. Whoa. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Oh well. Note for later. Stray thoughts. Voices in my head keep telling me to fight. Alright, so let's close that. I don't want that open. It go wrong. Alright, so we now have these with notes. So let's start with the message processor for starting the LM. Meowsy, how's it going? Good afternoon. How was work? Did you get today off or did you work? I hope you're doing good. I added more movement to the AI, or to my avatar. I now have movement. Oh, it's a movement. Aka moves as a wiggling. I tried to get her hands to work, and it was fucking gross, and I didn't like it, so it's off. I bought I just ordered the Motion Pro, because this paycheck this week, or this month's this last paycheck had no bills attached to it. I had paid them all. So I took the tiny bit of extra money and just got off work early. What's it take? I can't understand it. Someone tell me, why am I this way? Stupid medicine's not doing anything. Also, her tail wags now. Now when I move, her tail wags. You see wagging. She's wigging. Need to actually set up idle animations. Yeah, we're wiggling now. We can wiggle. Well, more so than we already could. Her head's a little tilted because my head's a little tilted, but it's fine. I'm fine. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, we're wiggling now. So I kind of set it up so if I'm looking at the center screen, she's looking at us. But then if I'm looking at OBS, I'm looking at you. What's the take? I can't fucking stand it. Someone tell me what. Alright, so far we're setting up the actual LLM now, so that's exciting. We've got the dispatcher set up. Now we gotta actually do something with it. So that's one thing in here that we're gonna set up, is if we get an SSE in here, we're just gonna instantly toss it into the client. So let's go into the application again. So in here, we're just gonna send SSEs automatically and just pass them through. So we're gonna do that with the switch real quick. So this one isn't a switch because it's a one-time thing. If it gets any other messages, it's going to ignore them. So if we go to Jessica client, so we'll go in the client real quick. Both of these are gonna have a case. Am I this way? So both of these are gonna have a case. Essence not doing anything. So we're just gonna have a case called SSE. On that case, we're just gonna do process.send, and then we're just gonna forward the message. We don't have to do anything else. So in theory, if we get something that needs to be passed along, it's gonna grab this message, make sure it has a use case, and then it's just gonna toss it out because we don't need it anymore. And then we'll pass it to the server. The server will pass it to the browser, and then the browser will process what it needs to. Yeah. Maybe I'll stay fucked up forever. Alright. So now that we've got that automatically passing out, let's try sending a message out of here that is that case. On wake up, we're gonna change this. So this is gonna be message is typing true, comma, quote, SSE. All right, so we're just gonna tell ourselves that. We're gonna go into this console here. We're gonna refresh him, and then in theory, when this boots up, this will boot. We come in here and we processed SSE. I did this in the TTS again, didn't I? Yes. No, I did it in both spots. So we sent a message that said SSE in it, and then we just passed that message along. So in application here, let's see if we got it. Let's see. Throw a new error, bad message at AI. Okay, so what was the bad message? Where did that crash? SSE is not an option? At LLM message processor. No, we have a case of that. Unless I... Or did I send it wrong? Message type SSE. I'm in the LLM. LLM awaken, and then we sent this message. And then we should have caught that message, right? So we should have message processed, which is LLM awaken. Message, so we did process it. Message processor. All right, let's see why this is not. Is it getting to here? All right. At Jessica's behavior at line 88, it's not seeing this as SSE. Okay. So we can agree that it is hitting here. It is getting the message. It doesn't know how to process it. So it means I did something wrong here. So we should send a message. It should be message type SSE. Did I spell message type wrong? Knife. You think I'm bulletproof? All right, so let's just CL the message here and see what we're getting. Maybe I have done something wrong. SSE and LLM did fire. Oh, we didn't exit the function, so the function was happening and then still hitting the error? Yeah, that's what happened. All right, so we can get rid of these logs. I forget that on occasion. Switches need breaks or returns. If they don't have a switch or a return, they freak the fuck out. So if we refresh in here, I should get a message that says SSE. So let's clean up some of these logs because we don't need them anymore. All right, so we got wake up, and then we sent a message, and then we sent something. So that should be in here too. Let's see. So if we look in here, we should have a parse message that we don't know, right? So we got a server connected. We got a server connected. We got a, there we go. There it is. So we did get this one. It's malformed, but we did get this one. So we sent message type SSE. Oh, okay, yeah. So inside of these, they get a second message type. We get our normal dispatcher message type, and then we have an additional message type that tells it what kind of SSE it is. So this gets a little funky just because of the way I have it set up, and this could be on me. Let's call it SSE from LLM. So that if we hit save and then we hit refresh, we should have a parse message. Here we go. So we have an SSE. This one hit the error section of the message type parser. So we can see here we got an is typing message type of SSE from LLM and SSE. So now we know officially we are passing data out of the LLM processing file. So we're passing from app to ChatBot, which is the brains, to the LLM, and passing it out as SSE. So we're good. So now we have the whole path done. So now we don't have to look at the client for a little bit. Now we have to actually do something. So the thing we're going to want to process, the case for sure, is prompt, right? So we want a case of prompt. We want to add a break before we do anything. And then basically what this is going to do is start the process of typing. Basically, we need to feed in all the stuff the next child process would need. So to call C++, we have to make another fork. So we're gonna cheat a little bit on that, because I know where the bin is. I'm gonna call the bin from here, and I'm gonna leave the bin in its parent folder, because we're just gonna be testing it anyways. So let's just grab that. I'm just gonna grab its path. Do I need that intermediate, actually? I do need that intermediate. So we've got one more process. This gets messy when you do a bunch of multi-threading, and it could just be my brain doesn't work the way it needs to. Fuck it. 6. You never said to me, but it's making too late to me drain. The heads out of my ass and feeling like a human centipede. to breathe. Stay away from me. I don't want me. I don't want me. So tell all your friends. This is the end of everything. So that's something we want to add now that I'm thinking about it. Let me add a note at the top of this file. Sanctify, purify. Sex and sorrow and sin, and what do you change? Can I get an amen? Alright, so at the top here, we need to add logging feature. So that might be something here too. We may actually accept one other type of message from the robot. We may also accept, about to lose control, falling from grace, from buffet, sailing again, to lose control. Yeah, so what we may do is add a function in here that is just logging, and it'll basically take Jessica.onMessages equal to logging, and then log it to a file somewhere. It will sanctify, purify. Rejected in sorrow and sin, strange. Can I get an amen? Yeah, so that's what we'll do. We'll add a function in here that just is logging, and then it'll be a yes or no. So when the server boots, it'll be set to either log or not log. And we'll pick that. We'll set that variable somewhere. At the top here, probably. This should, in theory, be stateless, but since this is an application and not just an API, it's not going to be completely stateless. Well, I guess it could be stateless, right? Because the thing that needs to log is in here. So we just set it in here to be, we have a function that just does logging, and then if it gets no messages, it doesn't log. So we just basically shut off the logging messages in here. Yeah. All right. So at the top here, we'll add a const is logging, and we'll set that to true. So then basically we'll have another additional message. Let's clean up our console.log so now that we've got this working. I don't need this. Don't need this one. We'll leave wake up in there for now. We don't need this anymore. We know it works. We don't need LLM alive at all, actually. LLM alive is here, right? Oh, we don't have a message for alive anymore. So we have SSE. All right, and then we have an SSE here. We're going to take out TTS alive. And then in TTS, we should not be sending a alive message. Yeah, so now we're getting, in the ChatBot, we are getting bad messages now. Let's see. All right, next. All right, so we don't need wake up. All right, let's go back to the top. I don't remember what I was doing. I've already lost it. So we're doing is logging. Let's see. So we send a message of wake up. We don't need to send this. This is a example. So when we were so now that we're sending wake up is throwing an error. So in here, TTS has wake up. So we're going to remove wake up. We're just going to, we need something in here. So we'll leave wake up for TTS, but we're going to remove it for the LLM because we know it's working. We're not going to send that message. We have an example of how to send a message. So the message we're going to need to send out, essentially, is, what message are we looking for? In here, we are looking for a message called prompt. So we need a case.prompt, right? And then we need to break. So in here, since we have or what did we call it in the LLM? We called it prompt. So I want to try and keep these cases. CL message. So we're going to leave that there. TTS alive is responding with something that this can't process. So here, we're getting alive. So let's go in here, and we'll just nuke this case. Or, we're just not going to send a message back. All right, there we go. So, TTS is awake, and then did you put any makeup? All right, cool. All right, so we'll leave that for now. So in here, we're going to want to do a message for prompt. So first thing we'll do is console.log prompt in ChatBot message. All right. So essentially, if we pass in prompt here now, we should get a response. We should see something. So in here, we have a prompt endpoint, wherever he's hiding, prompt. So we have a prompt endpoint here. We do all these checks, and then if there are no discrepancies, we're going to do a thing. So right now, we're just logging. So now instead, we're going to do Jessica dispatch.send, And then we're gonna send her message type prompt, which is the thing that we just set up. And then the message from the prompt is gonna be the validation, which is what am I sending? What is your name? Your name is rec body. We're just gonna send the rec body. Body. And then we're going to respond to the user with a status of 200 because we succeeded, essentially. All right, so if we refresh this so that it's blank. So now if I hit enter, you can see here, Jessica's already awake. We just sent a prompt with a message type of prompt. Here's the message with the settings from the dashboard, the character descriptor from the dashboard, and the prompt we just sent. All right, cool. That's huge. Fucking huge. Huge. Right? So now we are getting that in the chatbot here. So this needs to process that it got the prompt, right? So to do that, we are now going to do a Jessica LLM dot send, and then we're just going to pass the entire message to it. All right. Failed to fetch. That's fine. I'm not really expecting a whole lot. I expected nothing. So now if we go here, we're now in we're now prompt message type message blah 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 blah. This is called prompt object, which is in the TTS. Why are you here? Get here. App goes in front. Chatbot LLM. All right. So now we're here. We've now made it into this widget, right? So now we're in thread 3. So thread 1 called thread 2. Thread 2 went, okay, I'm happy with this. Here's a message. This is thread 3. This is where we're gonna hit thread 4. So we need one more child process dot fork. I guess in theory I don't really need this message processor. Do I need it? Do I need this message processor at all? Yes, I do, just in case something happens and I need to send something back. I'd rather have the LLM running in its own thread separate from the thing that does the dispatching. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Yeah, so we'll leave this alone then. But I do need child process again. That's not what I needed. I need child process. So I don't know why this says fail to fetch here. It's not fetching anything. I guess technically. No, it's not. I don't know why this is alerting me. We'll have to come back. I don't know why. Is that only on refresh though? Oh, then I don't fucking care. All right. Put that there. We'll need this child process. No, it didn't die. It died here and it was fine, but you can see here it disconnected like it was supposed to. So we've got a state machine now and the state machine's working and it says, hey, we've been disconnected. All right. So next step is to do something with this. So we need a new async function. We'll just call this LLM. Figuring out is a dream, and I'm digging. What's it gonna be used for? Mostly learning at the moment. So, the avatar underneath me, the girl, she is normally hooked to an LLM, and she can respond to chat and shit. But what she's gonna end up doing, let me pause this. What this is a learning thing. So a problem right now I have is the LLM, 1, freezes up the computer. So we're gonna see if we can't find some performance in here. 2, it's a way for me to figure out how to inject her with some amount of memory. Because right now she does not remember, in her context, she does not remember anything after the fact. So every message is independent, essentially. So what I'm trying to do is learn how to give her memories, how to do better with the child processes for actually running the LLM locally on the server, which is just my home PC. And then seeing if we can't find a better text-to-speech voice. So most of what this will be is just to play with it, because there's a bunch of settings that we can tinker with, and different descriptors we can do, and just prompts in general that I'd like to test, because worst case, I can give her a bunch of prompts. She almost always answers the exact same way if the settings are exactly the same. So I'll be able to archive what she says and make that part of a little search engine. So that instead of having to always go through the LLM, it can just go to a database and be like, hey, do we have something with this search parameter? So mostly for learning, but then getting her better at what she does. Essentially what it's for, if that makes sense. Or if that was clear, I should say. Yeah, that's probably what it is, yeah. All right, we'll just let it autoplay. We'll see what it gives us. All right. So, where was I? Yeah, so I don't know. That I don't know. Oh, well, if it is, it'll be read-only. Like, I'm not going to be... It'll just be take it as is licensed, and I will not be updating it. This is I wouldn't call this a throwaway project necessarily. Because I'm teaching it, I guess I'm technically teaching it, and everyone on YouTube could just learn from it. I suppose that yeah, I would make it open available, but I wouldn't necessarily call it open source, right? It'll just be, hey, this is available to you, and then a URL to like a demo that I just kind of self-host, and it'll just be up whenever I want it to be up. Because that'll be another thing is just to do performance testing, see how many threads I can get running on a server. Because when I'm done, this is all going to be in JavaScript, but we're going to go back through and make it in Go, or the server side. I'm going to leave the client in JavaScript and HTML because, well, yeah, I'm not going to try and do something special on the front end outside of a language I don't know when it's designed to use JavaScript anyways. So we just have to process all our messages. So the next parts, but yeah, I'll probably make it available so people can actually look at it and play with it on their own. But it won't be open source in the fact that the license will be do whatever the fuck you want, but I'm not responsible for what you do after the fact. And I will not be providing the binary for the LLM itself, because this is my special LLM, so you'll have to find your own version, but I'll have instructions for that. Yeah, as is open source, yeah. Take it as is, good luck. And this is the instructions where to find a binary. Because you'll run into two problems with this one. I'm using Llama C++, so you'll have to find a compiled version of that, and then a version of a LLM that actually works with Llama C++. And then it'll be dependent on when, because that man's a mad genius, so he's updating it all the time. So there's probably a better version already out of what I'm playing with. And I gotta look at his license and make sure I'm following his license too. Or it might just be, hey, good luck. But I'm not gonna include his binary or any wrappers I put over his application. So more the text to speech though. The text to speech requires a wrapper. But he makes both he coded both products, so, or at least he's the directory. I'm sure it's a group at this point. Cynical, oh criminal, a little cynical. Made me cynical. Ugh. Ugh. All right, back. Perfect. Okay, so I have been coding in JavaScript since a little around this time, 2022. So a little over 2 years experience making web applications. C++ I've only been doing for like 6 months maybe, and not very much of it. This is my second server ever. At work, it's all front-end dev, so I just get stuck using SharePoint as my hosting and my database. So, most of my experience in this, so this is a learning while letting you know what I've already learned kind of thing. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. I wouldn't call it like the most educational, but I at least describe what I think I'm doing. Front end right now in here is just HTML and JavaScript. We're just doing plain JavaScript. I can run you through this real quick. So let's see. So we have a controller. We're using SSE from the server to process messages, so we know what to do. We grab the events and we pass it into a message processor. He tries to stringify, or not stringify. Why would you? So basically we process the messages, convert them from JSON over an actual message, and then we have a switch that looks at what kind of message type, and then we do stuff. This is old code I'm just reusing. So we have server connected here. So you can see up here in the SSE, if I hit refresh and it doesn't crash, we have a state machine up here. So this first message sees if we're connected to the server, and then it updates this connected. Then, if it fails, we put disconnected here, which you saw previously. Next thing we do is we grab the configuration. So the configuration comes in and tells me if it's successful or not, and then it resets this and sets them to whatever the last setting was in here. So all we're doing in the prompt, so this is just the controller. The controller's just listening to this and running the SSE. Beyond that, we're looking if you hit enter in the prompt, then it'll pass something in. So if I type something in here, hit enter, you can see here in the server, we're getting a response, and basically it's all of these configuration settings, plus whatever I typed in the chat here, plus this descriptor. And these descriptors are coming from a config file. And then once we hit enter, we reset the chat box, and then we set the value to nothing. And then inside of here, we have our configuration here. this configuration has a bunch of listeners. So basically, if we change these numbers, this bar slides, and if we change this bar, the number changes. And then these are just all hooked together. But they also get the config. So you see how these numbers have changed? If I hit refresh and it doesn't crash like that, it'll reset to whatever the last config was on the server. I also don't know why it's throwing errors random. So then we have 2 listeners in this configuration file. We have a listener for this submit button and this submit button. And then basically, anytime you submit, it takes all the settings in there, cleans up what you typed in the character description, and then I'll upload it. And then if you do chat, it calls the get configuration here, and then adds the prompt to it. And then this right here, if this gets called from the main, from the, wherever it is, if it gets called from the controller, which is normally called right here, if we do update configuration here, and we go in here, it grabs all of the settings that are previously there and set them to the new settings we gave it from the server. Yeah. I think that's essentially it for here. And then obviously we're working on the state machine. As I make variables that are locking or unlocking, we are going to deal with that. So right now what we're working on is getting this to communicate properly. Because right now this obviously isn't doing anything. It's all placeholder for style. So that's currently what we're fighting with right now. So on the server side, we have several endpoints for our API. So API 1 is configuration. So when you hit the submit button, it goes through, sees to make sure you have all the things I'm looking for. Because the one thing I don't want to have happen. All right. So this, I guess, would be my... I don't think I guess I technically have middleware, but my functions are my middleware. I don't have actual built-in right now. So we're using Express.js because it's the thing I learned how to do first because it's the easiest for me. So we're just using that. And then the only other special thing we're using... Well, we're using 2 other special things. We're using Express's JSON function. We're using child process from Node. And that becomes important later because that's how we're doing all our dispatching. And then these are our basic settings. Basically says, hey, this is the public file for the actual HTML we're serving up. Then we have JSON. Then we have a child process, which is the dispatcher that we were just showing. And then this is just a placeholder to send to make sure that the dispatcher is working. So then we do some stuff we shouldn't do and allow cross origin. Yeah, so right now we're using NodeMon and the localhost. So I'm using the NodeMon as my dev dependency. So NodeMon's the server, and then I can also run it in console, but it's all localhost right now. So we're passing in headers we probably shouldn't allow in, but I was having issues, so I just set them all to be that way. So, what is chat with me? I don't know what that was supposed to be. I don't think we're calling that. Are we? I don't think we're calling that. One second. Chat with me. All right, we got config, prompt, my actual posting function. And then in the controller, I don't think we're just calling SSE. So that's just a placeholder from previously. All right. So probably don't need that. We'll leave that endpoint for now. So the first one we have set up here is the configuration management one. So when you hit submit here or here, we check to see if there's any discrepancies. I do not want to pass this in and have it be invalid. So first thing we do, and this might not be the best way to handle this. This is just the way I figured out how to do last night. No, Thursday night. So we check to see if we check the entries and see if it exists. And then we basically go through and then we take the keys from discrepancy. We loop through everything. And as long as the validation has a key and doesn't equal blank, we then delete the key out of the discrepancy object. Once we get to the end, if there's no discrepancies left, right? If this is essentially just an empty object, then we actually process it. At this point, we're basically reading a config file, which is this guy here. We have a config file here. He has initial state, which we're going to leave alone. We have last update, which is the last post from the user. And then we have all the settings they put in there and the descriptor they had. Every time you upload a new connector, it basically takes this last update, adds a timestamp to it, adds it back to this object, and then we write over last update. And then we save this file again. Every time we save this file, the host resets. So that's the downside of NodeMon, is it resets every time a file changes in any of these that are these kind of files. So it's a trade-off that we have to live with. If we were in console, if we were running this in console, we wouldn't see that. but it is what it is. So while we're playing with it, we just have to be aware that every time we use this endpoint, it's going to reset the nodemon server. So essentially, we take the data that we just got, or we attempt to read the file in JSON and get the data. If we get the data, we then process it. We make a new key, which is that timestamp we were talking about. So this gets the time since, I think it's Jan 1, 1970 in milliseconds. So they're never going to be the same. It would be impossible for the user to end up with matching keys. Then we take the old data, we shape it, and then whatever the last update was in old data, we add it to the new key, and then we basically write over last update with what we just dispatched from the model here. So when we go through the model, we basically pass in the this is the model, yeah. So we go to the configuration endpoint and we pass in the data, and the data was what you saw in the configuration controller here, which is this set of data here. We basically send this up. Where do we send that up at? We send that up here, yeah. So we have a handle submit function. When you hit the submit button here, we send a new config, which is this data object, and then we go to post config update, and that basically updates from here. This endpoint gets the data, and it gets processed on the app side. And then obviously, if the server fails, you get a 500. If you have any discrepancies, you get a 400. And then it tells you which things were missing, and then we send back we send you back the data you gave us and the error. And then down here, if something just goes wrong that I couldn't think of, it'll we can get rid of that note. Otherwise, we're just gonna do res 500 in case we have an error that I can't see in here. Next, what we're currently working on is the prompt, which has the exact same data validation as the other one, but instead of reading and writing to a JSON file, this is calling Jesse's dispatcher. And Jesse's dispatcher, which is her name, little AI. This dispatcher is what we're currently working on right now. So this dispatcher uses, oh yeah, and we got one other thing down here. So we'll come back to this because this is what we're actually doing. So in here we have our SSE here, which is the event that this subscribes to when it reloads, which is this SSE here. So you see how this is connected. If we look in the console, we're sending some messages out here already, right? So we have server connected, which updates this. And then we have state machine. The state machine gets to see that too. And then we have an update for the parse. So we passed in the config, which means config successful fired, which should be this is the message that it sent. And this is what the state machine looks like now. So state machine has last and the config. So since it sees that there's a config, it says, hey, I'm happy. So that's what this is. And this basically, this state machine gets all the data from the SSE. And we just basically parse that message at the top of the controller. So we're processing that event here. And then it goes into here, gets parsed. And then if it doesn't crash, then we go through here and go through our switch. So in that case, we got server connected, which updated the state machine. We got a config, which updates the state machine and the configuration. Yeah. And then basically from there, we've now done everything in here. This is it for the client, other than if it disconnects. As you've seen previously, this will change to disconnected. Sometimes it doesn't set disconnected, and sometimes this fails to close, but I don't understand enough about SSE. I don't know that I'm going to do a prompt enhancer. I think the descriptor is going to be the thing that controls the inputs. We are going to do some stuff to make it so if she freaks the fuck out, which they do on occasion, if the bot freaks out or doesn't behave the way we want to, then we will deal with that in her, in the actual brain as it processes the data. It'll be the same with like certain things. We can set up a filter so that we can affect what she says, right, as well, or what she's not allowed to say. So if she hits the filter, it just comes back filtered like Nero does. It'll just say filtered and then not actually have any data in it. Yeah, we want guardrails. On this initial build, we won't need it. But like if I was live streaming with her on, she has guardrails, massive guardrails. The LLM she uses has a bunch of guardrails that I've tested and not been able to get to fire off. And then for anything inappropriate, which was not fun, by the way, it's not fun. It doesn't feel good to test that, but you have to. And then I have a bunch of filters set up that are pretty close to what Nightbot does if I had a Nightbot. The way it looks at certain phrases, it'll filter it out. All right, so At this point, we're now in the chatbot. We have every time we send a prompt, we're basically transmitting this prompt through the process, right? So it hits the prompt endpoint here. We validate the data, and then we send it off to this dispatch. This dispatch is this child process right here. So a child process essentially is like a JavaScript web worker. So we use it pretty much exactly the same. Just instead of on message and post message, it's just process.send or process.on message. So we call this dispatcher here. It goes into this dispatcher. This guy specifically has 3 things set up. It has a child process for the LLM brain. So this thing won't do the LLM stuff. It'll just contact the LLM stuff. And then when we start playing with the TTS again, it has a dispatcher for that as well. So this is basically when we call the LLM, it's going to send messages, and then we're going to process them here. This is our processing controller. So this thing basically controls all the behaviors of the LLM. And the text-to-speech once we have that. So then in here in this processor, right now we're just sending the message. So if we get SSE from her, so if she says SSE in here, it's going to automatically pass it back up to the application and push it in here. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything. The application here does not We are going to add another thing because that was the thing I was just looking at. We're going to have another one in here. This could be a switch, but we're just not. Else if message type equals logging, we'll do capital. Logging was hit. Oh, you're welcome. I don't mind at all. Where are you throwing that error? Where are you getting thrown from? So we got SSE and we got data, right? But what is your issue? Is this endpoint just closing? Huh. We'll come back to that. I don't know. Sometimes it throws an error. Could just be node mod resetting. Who knows? So we're gonna add a logging function here. For right now, we'll just put a console log in there just so I know it's there so I don't forget. But basically, we'll add a logging function in here. So this will basically send messages that are logging messages. So we can basically keep track of variables like our lets and our conses. Or if we add locks, which we are probably going to add locks. Because we'll need to set up a queuing system. I don't want the person typing to be thrown off and not get their responses. So we'll probably set up a queuing system inside of this guy. So every time he gets a message from the application for the prompt here, it'll basically have an array that just kind of saves the data until it's done responding to it, and then it'll pop it off the array. So we'll probably want to add that here. Let's call this chat queue, and then we'll just have an empty array, and this will just be an array of objects. So essentially, this will receive a message down here from prompt, and instead of sending it directly to the LLM, actually, maybe the LLM should handle that? I don't know. We'll have to come back to that. I'm not sure. I don't know where this is going to get handled, but we'll just put it up here and put a note. Deal with chat queuing, because we're essentially going to lock the LLM. Hate it. Yes, I do intend. Let's see, where is it? I was learning Postgres. I just don't know how to actually interact with it outside of the SQL. So once I figure that out, it's in the to-dos. Yeah, here we go. At some point, we are going to add a Postgres database, because if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to make a server like this, I want to go all out. Even if the server is locally contained in the system itself. Because most chatbots, if you set them to the same settings, at least for Llama, it will respond the same way every time to the same questions. So there's no point in having it type out the answer over and over again if I can just save it, and then on the server or on the client we can fake typing, because if we have her type slightly slower than what the server can process, we can do other stuff while it's typing in the client. So while it looks like in the client it's typing, we can slow it down so that we can do more shit on the server and hide that it's not quite as slow as you think it is, because we're doing extra shit like summarizing and injecting history and all that jazz. Which will be something we'll have to play with too, because we'll want to add the database for history, right? Because essentially the bot over time will make its own memes in theory, or at least chat will inspire in such a way that it creates its own memes. So we'll want to store that in a way that it can be called back up, just like her favorite Pokemon is Gyarados, no matter what type you call it. other than electric. So if you say, what's your favorite ghost Pokemon? Her answer is Gyarados. So those are the kind of things where you would want that always to be in there, even if it's not true. You can basically develop the character more if we're storing the data somewhere. Then we just build a little, we'll build a little mini search engine essentially that searches the Postgres database and then the previous conversation, which will be kind of fun. Her boots have my first search engine as a texture. I don't know if it transferred over. I do have a search engine because this thing's like, I guess technically I started this project July 2023, and that's when I coded up her first search engine and found her voice, which we're gonna have to fix now because it's a lag monster because it uses Python. Ugh. And I think that's what's locking the computer. But at some point we'll have it. Ugh, I think I'm done. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I think this is a good stopping point. I'll see you tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Monday. No, not Monday. Tuesday. I'll see you Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay, bye.